Hello, kidney warriors. James here from Dadvice TV, your online kidney health coach, and this is another great episode of Dadvice TV Live. Tonight, we are going to be talking about something so common with kidney disease, and that is controlling or managing phosphorus. And phosphorus, you guys know, I always call it the sneaky snake, because it seems like phosphorus is in everything you want to eat. But we're going to talk all about it, why you need to watch phosphorus if you have kidney disease, some tips for managing it, keeping it where it needs to be in your diet, and all sorts of other great stuff. Now, before we jump into that topic, for those of you that are new, let me real quickly introduce myself. My name is James. I, like most of you, am a kidney warrior. I was diagnosed with stage 5 kidney disease. As a matter of fact, today is November 16th. It is 5 years exactly today that I was diagnosed with kidney failure. My doctors didn't give me a good outlook, but my doctor was really positive, and I worked closely with my primary care physician, my nephrologist, and my dietitian, the single most important person on my healthcare team. I got my blood pressure under control. I found the right medications I needed to take. I changed my diet. I started living a healthier lifestyle and have improved my overall health. Now, my kidneys, they're still shot. There's no fixing your kidneys. There's no, magically healing them. None of that woo-woo stuff that's out there on the internet. But there is stuff you can do to help slow the progression and maybe even remove some of that burden you're putting on your kidney disease or on your kidneys so that they function better. Someone says, happy anniversary. Yes, I am very excited. 5 years. I can't believe it. And I just realized that as I was starting to talk. Now let's jump into our topic. My co-host here, she was here last month. You guys loved her in the comments, said, bring her back. I want to see Kathy some more. I want to hear from her some more. Please welcome another dietitian here to give us great diet advice. Kathy from, is it Virginia or West Virginia?
Neither. North Carolina.
North Carolina. Well, at least I didn't say Cleveland, even though I know you love the Cleveland Browns and you're always cheering for them. Woo, tonight the Bengals are playing and I'm cheering for them. But go ahead and introduce yourself, Kathy, and then let's start talking about phosphorus.
All right. So I am actually in West Virginia, but I live in North Carolina. So I have been in North Carolina my whole life, and I started a private practice focusing on kidney disease about a year ago, and I wanted it to be in my hometown. So that's where I am. And then I also have social media things that I do and a Facebook group. And so I just love helping people and talking to people about kidney disease. So that is pretty much, everything I do revolves around kidneys.
Perfect. And that's what we're here to talk about. We want to keep our kidneys as healthy and happy as possible. And one of the things we all know that we got to keep an eye on is phosphorus. And we all have lots of questions about it. So Kathy, help us conquer phosphorus.
All right. So I know we've got people listening that are all across the spectrum of kidney disease, from early stage, middle stage, to on dialysis or right near dialysis. And so phosphorus is one of those things that varies depending on your stage of kidney disease. So what happens with phosphorus is that your kidneys can lose enough function that your kidneys just can't clear out enough of the phosphorus from your bloodstream. So when you're in early stage kidney disease, almost all the time, most of the time, I've seen very few people in early stage kidney disease that have a problem with phosphorus. But as kidney disease advances, maybe in like late stage 4, stage 5, when you're on dialysis, that's when your kidneys have lost so much functioning that they just have a hard time keeping your phosphorus levels down where they're supposed to be. So that's what happens with phosphorus. And so it really is dependent on what your levels are. But if you're early stage kidney disease, I usually tell my clients that that's not the highest on our priority list, but there are some things that I do talk to them about in terms of natural phosphorus versus phosphorus additives in our food.
And there's a huge difference between how much your body absorbs between natural
Mhm.
and those additives, correct?
Yes. So, one of the things that's confusing when people get online is we used to have, people sometimes call it the old kidney diet. Like when I was in school, we learned a totally different set of recommendations for kidney disease than we know now. And part of the confusion online is both sets of information are out there. And so you see conflicting information. But what we know now is that the phosphorus that's naturally in our foods, so in our meats, in our grains, in our dairy, those foods have natural phosphorus and it's not absorbed very well in our bloodstream. So, somewhere between an average is probably 50 to 60%. It depends on the food group. But so, if you are having grains, very little of the phosphorus in your grains are absorbed. So that's not so much a problem for our kidneys because it never makes it to our kidneys. It's got to, what gets into the bloodstream is what's coming to our kidneys. So that's not so much the problem, but that's what we used to tell people to restrict. So that's where you see the don't eat white bread type things. But what we know now is the there's so many additives that are added to food that have phosphorus in them. And those are absorbed into our bloodstream 100%. So if we have a high phosphorus intake across our lifetime, that's putting extra burden on our kidneys because it's something extra that it's having to filter out. So when I do talk to early stage folks and their phosphorus maybe isn't a problem, I do tell them, go ahead, start looking for phosphorus additives in foods. That's a good place to start and start making sure you're eliminating a lot of those. So that is where I tell folks to start. Now, if you get to later stages of kidney disease, your kidneys just cannot keep your phosphorus down, and that may not be enough. So then we have to move into a little more walk, a little more careful attention to our diet.
Now, if I look at a label, how do
Mhm.
I phosphorus isn't listed as
No,
one of
it's
the
hidden.
percentages and things that's in there. How do you recommend I find phosphorus in food?
Great question. So you are right. Phosphorus is not required to be on the nutrition label. So very rarely are you going to see that. But like I said, the natural phosphorus that's in our potatoes or in our meat or in our nuts isn't going to be listed there because it's not required to be listed. But what is required to be listed is the ingredients in food. So you want to look at the ingredient list. And you do not have to memorize all the additives. You just look for PHOS. It could be sodium triphosphate. It could be a lot of different things, but we're just looking for PHOS. And sometimes you'll see 3 or 4 additives in a food that is pH has the phosphorus additives. So those are the ones. If you think about our diets, typically in many places right now, but including the United States, but we eat a lot of processed foods. And so with processed foods come chemicals in there to keep them fresh and to make them taste the way they want them to taste and to keep them on the shelf a long time. So we really with our high intake of processed foods, that's where we can really be eating a lot of phosphorus and really have no idea.
So if I look at a label and I
Mhm.
see PHOS, does it instantly mean don't eat this food?
So, my approach with clients is that it's not the end of the world if you eat some foods that have a phosphorus additive in them, especially if you're in a place and you don't have a lot of options. I think you have to make the best choice that's available to you. But I particularly think you should think about the foods that you eat regularly and constantly. So, for example, the coffee creamer that I use, I use a plant-based coffee creamer, and plant-based dairy products, so-called dairy products, are frequently items that have a phosphorus additive in there. So I look for the brand that doesn't have it because I use that frequently. If you are, say, on a trip and you've got to find something to eat and the only yogurt they have has phosphorus in it, I don't think that's the end of the world. It's definitely better than going through the drive-through at McDonald's. So you have to just think about what's appropriate at that moment. So I would much rather people, I have people at times that have just restricted themselves so much that they're just not eating enough. And it's because they think they need to eliminate all these things, but they don't know what to add in its place. So there are times when you might have to choose something that has a phosphorus additive in it. But, the things, so if you think about how often kids and we grew up drinking dark sodas, they're loaded with phosphorus. And so all that phosphorus we've eaten over our course of our life has been filtered through our kidneys. And so it's just adding extra burden. So really you want to think about your whole overall diet. And if you cut out certain things, then you can reduce your overall phosphorus additive intake.
Yeah, and here's my trick, which, I had a phosphorus issue in the beginning. My GFR was 8, so my kidneys weren't working that great. And I was like, I need a list of foods. And the dietitian said, no, I'm going to give you something easier. Look at the labels. And if there's anything with PHOS in the first half, she told me, don't buy that item. Look for something that doesn't have it in the first. Now, it can appear once in the second, but if it appears 2 or more times in the second half of the ingredients, skip that one also. Look for one that just has something once in the second half or none. And that made it so easy for me to quickly look at the labels, read the ingredients, look for PHOS. And if I saw, and I know there are things with like 4 or 5 of them, you're like, holy cow, this is all chemicals, especially if it's in a box. It's like, put that back.
Yes. So that's a great way. So a lot of people may not know that the ingredients are listed in order of the highest amount ingredient to the lowest. So the reason he was advised to look at the top half is because those are the things that are in the item at the highest amounts. So that's a great little trick. I love that.
Yeah, it made it so simple. I didn't need a list and I could do it myself. And it gave me kind of a little bit more control, because when you get kidney disease, you feel like you lost so much control. But I was like, no, now I'm back in control. No to this, no to that. Oh, here's something. And I felt like I won when I found something that only had it once or didn't have it at all.
Yeah, but you knew specifically what you were looking for. And I think a lot of times that's what gets frustrating to people, is they know they're supposed to look for certain things, but they're not sure when they found a good item to choose. So that's an excellent example.
Yeah, it made it so much easier for me. And I love, as I've mentioned to everybody out here before, a dietitian is so helpful. They give you the tools to take control, to become, not just feel, to become empowered and make good choices in your diet. So anyone out there who is not currently working with a dietitian, that's my number one thing that I always keep saying over and over. Get with the dietitian. They're going to teach you amazing things like that simple trick. And they take the scariness where you're afraid to eat, where you're not getting enough calories, where you may be suffering from malnutrition because you think you're helping yourself, but you're not. They give you the tools to make the good decisions and stay healthy and stay on track. Now, what happens, or what are symptoms that I've got too much phosphorus? All right, I can go get a lab, but I can't do that all the time, and it costs money. And as a kidney patient, I already pay enough for medication. Are there other symptoms that, this could be a phosphorus issue and it's time to go maybe talk to my doctor and get labs to find out?
Yes. So as kidney disease progresses, then are you could potentially see the elevated phosphorus. And I believe Marcy just commented earlier
Mm-hmm.
that she is now stage 4 and her doctor flagged her phosphorus is elevated, and it's getting harder and harder as the disease progresses. And that is so common, and it's so it gets to be so frustrating. So I understand exactly where she's coming from. So one of the biggest things that happens when your phosphorus is elevated is it can start pulling calcium from your bones. And we all have grown up with the message drilled in our head that we need calcium for our bones. And so your bones become weaker. And that is really ultimately what, when you are on dialysis and you really start having issues with managing your phosphorus, that's really the serious side effect that we're really looking at. But you can have bone or joint pain. Some people are really itchy when their phosphorus is,
Mm-hmm.
and some people can really tell when you begin to learn what the signs and symptoms are. You really become empowered to know, like, you can tell your healthcare provider, like, I've been really itchy. I think maybe my phosphorus is elevated, or
Mm-hmm.
um, or maybe you don't know that that's the cause, and you just tell your doctor that that's what's going on, and they figure out, we should check their phosphorus. So you can also have muscle cramps, but that's kind of tricky because you can have muscle cramps from a lot of different deficiencies. And so I wouldn't think if I had a muscle cramp isolated with nothing else that it must be phosphorus, because that can come from so many different things.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, when before I was diagnosed, I had the itchy and I had the little dots all over me. I
Yes, the
thought I
rash.
was having an allergic reaction. We had just purchased a new house, and let me tell you something. I carpet shampooed that carpet so many times. I thought they had a cat maybe because I'm allergic to cats, and that's what my problem is. But that was the phosphorus pulling the calcium out of my bones, and then gives you those bumps, that rash, and just itching, especially at night when I would try to sleep. It would just get so bad.
So it's probably interesting once you got diagnosed to look back and put all the pieces together.
Oh, I had every symptom. It was crystal
Right.
clear looking back. It's like, how did I not Google this and figure it out?
Yeah, but you were just living your life. So you were just thinking it's just a little rash from cleaning the carpet. So
Oh
it
yeah,
makes
I
perfect
thought I
sense.
had an allergy to the house, and then I got food poison, and I would get over it, and then I was just exhausted from moving and trying to do it all so quickly, and we did it ourselves. We didn't hire anybody. I just thought, oh, this is normal, and I'm getting older. This is normal, but no, it wasn't.
Right. Yeah, we just think it's part of, it's just these little minor things that are going on. So I do see a comment here. I eat 5 slices of wheat bread every day. Does it affect my kidney or increase my creatinine? So that's a really good question. So one thing we want you to look for when choosing a wheat bread is high fiber. So, the higher fiber content that you can find in your bread, the better of a choice it is. So that's one thing I would check for your bread, is to make sure you're getting fiber. Many of us do not, most of us do not get enough fiber. So your wheat bread choice is actually can be a good whole grain choice. It is not going to increase your creatinine. That is Creatinine is not a byproduct of the digestion of your wheat bread. Where I think it gets confusing is when you look online. Well, you've been diabetic and they told you to eat wheat bread instead of white bread, and then you read on the internet somewhere that you should eat white bread for kidney disease, and that's part of our old recommendations. But really, we want you to eat healthy, whole plant foods. So, whole grain wheat bread with a good amount of fiber is a good choice, and it's not affecting your creatinine. I try to tell people that potassium and phosphorus are side effects of your kidney not working as well as it should. So people sometimes get the message that if they reduce their phosphorus intake, it's going to help their kidneys get better. But that's not part of healing our kidneys. That's a part of just managing the phosphorus level that's risen because of a side effect. So no, your 5 slices of wheat bread are not going to affect your kidneys. We actually think that's a good choice. It may help you get a really good amount of fiber. Important thing is just moderation. Make sure you're getting plenty of other good foods like nuts and seeds and fruits and vegetables. So just to make sure that you're not eating a lot of those things.
Yeah, I'll tell you, fiber is like magic. I I have not done a show yet, believe it or not, in 5 years. This is show number 292. I have not done one about fiber yet, but we talk so many times about the benefits, and that's what we should do maybe next month or in January is talk about fiber, how to get more, and all the benefits of it.
That's a great
it's
topic.
amazing.
You're right. You're right. That is a common thing that I talk about every day. So people just don't come in and ask you about fiber. So it's more like this is a topic we know we should talk about, but no one's going to say, what should I do with my fiber for my kidneys?
Yep. All right, here's another great question. What are your thoughts on fruit smoothies for someone with kidney disease?
Fruit smoothies are really popular. Smoothies in general are popular. So, one thing is a fruit smoothie could be a lot of different things. So, if it is something that you are making at home and you are primarily using fresh fruits and maybe fresh vegetables in there, maybe use some protein powder, you are in control of the ingredients. If you are purchasing something at the store or at a restaurant, one, you want to see if there's any added sugars in there because that's not overall healthy for us. And if you have diabetes, then that's certainly not something that would be a good choice. So the great thing about a good fruit smoothie is if you use the whole fruit, again, you're getting the fiber. So, so we want to go for whole fruit versus fruit juice. So putting your whole fruit into your smoothie is a great idea. And then, whatever you use for your liquid and things. So it is an excellent way to get in more fruits. And it's also a good way for a lot of people to get in vegetables that they don't really like, but they can kind of hide them in their smoothie. So, you see people drinking the green smoothies. This way they're getting their greens. If you can cover that green color over, it doesn't taste so bad. But you look at it and you're like, oh, that's bright green. But yes. Oh, Tiffany says we should do a fiber video. I love it.
Yes. And the sugar is a huge thing. I thought I was being healthy buying Naked, the fruit things.
Because
loaded with sugar.
Because it's got 12 grapes and 14.
Exactly.
Whatever, yeah.
And then you flip that thing around and you read the sugar and it's like, what? I could go to Baskin and Robbins and have ice cream with less sugar.
Right, absolutely. So, and that's where the ingredient label can also come into play. So you can look at the amount of added sugars, but then you can also, a lot of times, the first 3 ingredients are all sugar. So really, you're getting mostly sugar. So you have to be careful with that. You have to be careful with anything you buy in a grocery store that is packaged. You have to check the label because they market it as a healthy item because they know we're looking for those, but they aren't going to point out that it has, 25 grams of added sugar or those things. We have to look for those things.
Yep. Now, Philip asked about gluten in wheat bread. What are your thoughts on that? Any concerns, any warnings?
Gluten is a very, very hot topic. It's been on the scene for some years now. Gluten is one of those things that varies between individuals. So some people have an allergy to gluten, so they absolutely have to avoid gluten. I know several people that have to seriously make sure they don't get any gluten. Then you've got the people that have found, or that maybe your medical providers have suggested, that maybe some of your symptoms like body aches or things that come along with inflammation, maybe you would feel better if you would eliminate the gluten. So that's another popular thing that comes along. Some people eliminate gluten and they can just tell they feel so much better. And I think it's somewhat personalized, because there are other people that go to a lot of trouble to eliminate gluten and see no difference. And so then you have to ask yourself if it's really worth the extensive amount of trouble that you have to go to. In terms of your kidneys, I'm not aware of any effect of gluten on your kidneys. So that's kind of just a different health topic.
Now we have a few questions here about phosphorus binders. For those that are not familiar what a phosphorus binder is, can you explain what it is? And do you have any recommendations on phosphorus binders?
So phosphorus binders are very helpful. So like I said, once you get to more advanced stages, even if you cut out the preservatives, you may have elevated phosphorus. And so you want to control that to take care of. So what's happening, like I said earlier, is it's pulling the calcium out of your bones. You're getting softening bones, but then you can also have calcium deposits all over your body that are also going to be harmful for you. So when it gets to be that kind of a problem, we've got to do something to control our phosphorus. And you also need protein. And so they're telling you to eat a high protein diet. And that's where we get a lot of our phosphorus, is from our animal protein. And so it's kind of what do I do? I'm supposed to eat protein. I'm supposed to limit my phosphorus. So phosphorus binders, what they do is they bind with the phosphorus in our body so that it's not absorbed in your bloodstream. It doesn't pass through your kidneys, and so it passes through your digestive system. There are quite a few different phosphorus binders on the market, and there are different reasons that doctors, nephrologists choose different binders for you to be on. And I'm going to be really honest. I used to work in a dialysis clinic. I did not love that area. Like, that's where I really developed my passion for helping people stay off of dialysis. So I am not well versed on the current best phosphate binders. But there are other folks that I know James has on the show that are experts in this area. But that's what they do, and they are an important part in dialysis patients of managing phosphorus, because you just can only do so much with your diet. So we have to kind of have other ways of tackling it.
Now here's a question. This is a great question. It's not related to phosphorus, but Judith has a great question that impacts a lot of people out there with kidney disease, and it's about iron. How can she get more iron and absorb it better when she eats it?
Yes, that is an excellent question, and it affects a lot of people with kidney disease. You are correct. You know, very many people that I see with kidney disease also have anemia, and that's because our red blood cells are made in, they're greatly controlled by our kidneys. And so when your kidneys aren't working well, some of those things that they need to do for us just aren't happening. So one of the ways that you can increase your iron is, so we get iron from plant sources and we get iron from animal sources. And the iron in animal sources is more absorbable and better for us than the iron in plants. So it's kind of like I said about phosphorus in natural foods, it just doesn't absorb very well. There are some some things that are super high in iron that people commonly suggest, like blackstrap molasses is one of them that you commonly um, get encouraged, but then you have to watch out for the sugar because of the, if you have diabetes, molasses might not be a good thing. Our previous generations, a lot more than us, used iron skillets.
Yes.
And that was a great way to get iron because the iron from the skillets gets into our food. So it isn't actually a good trick to help with increasing your iron.
Also
The
helps
other
with
thing,
muscle building, picking up all those iron pots and
the other
pans.
thing, yes, is vitamin C helps with iron absorption. So if you take an iron supplement, you want to take that with something with vitamin C in it to help with the absorption. Commonly, you will see people ordered an iron supplement and a vitamin C supplement, and they don't. That's the sole reason that the vitamin C is ordered to help the iron become absorbed more. And further, when you take iron supplements, some of them can cause really serious constipation. So if you have that problem and you have really tried everything and you just can't resolve that, there are various forms of iron supplements. And so iron sulfate is the one that's commonly ordered. And so you can ask to have a different one that is not as constipating as the iron sulfate is.
Now, Philip, who is a regular viewer here, asks, should we avoid all animal proteins if we have any protein in our urine?
That's a very good question. So we do know that protein in your urine is an additional factor in the progression of kidney disease. So, I'm glad that Philip knows he needs to watch that and try to reduce his proteinuria. So the recommendation is to reduce our total protein intake to a certain amount. And we do know that animal proteins are harder on our kidneys, especially beef and pork, so the red meats. So it's generally better to get your protein, your animal protein, from fish or poultry and dairy products. But we, there's a lot of research that still needs to be done, but we are finding more and more evidence that the more we lean towards plant-based diets, the better our kidney outcomes can be. Nutrition research is really hard to do, so we don't have clear guidance on that yet, but lots of people are really, highly recommending severely reducing your animal protein to help with kidneys. I don't think having a little bit of animal protein or some animal protein is the end of the world for your proteinuria. And I also think when you make dietary changes, the reducing your proteinuria is kind of a slow game. It takes a while to start seeing those benefits. And so I wouldn't get frustrated if you've made major changes to your diet and you're not seeing it change, because that can take some time. I mean, we see improvements in other things quicker than we do the proteinuria. But I love that he's thinking about that, because it is super important in terms of managing our kidney disease to try to slow the progression as much as possible.
Yep. And Dr. Rosansky always is talking about reducing your protein in your urine. That's really, really important. And that is the number one indicator of future kidney issues. And if you're worried about going on dialysis, get that protein down where it's not detected or as low as you can to slow or to reduce your potential to go on dialysis. All right. Now, we've gone a little over our time for tonight, but I want to get one more question in because we have so many great questions. And also I want to say hi to Sandy. Sandy's in Windsor, Ontario, which is Canada, which is like right across the river from me. 30 minutes, I'm over there as long as there's no line at the border. I go there all the time with my kids. We love going over there, Sandy. We're going to go again this Sunday, and we're probably going to go there for Thanksgiving next week to eat at this amazing buffet called the Mandarin in Windsor at the Devonshire Mall. But here's our last question. Valsa asks, is iron oxide constipating? Because I know a lot of people are thinking, okay, I'm going to take an iron supplement to get that up. Do you know if this is one of the ones that causes constipation or can lead to constipation?
Valsa is putting me on my toes because that is not something that I know off the top of my head, sadly. So I'm going to have to look into that.
Hey, that's all right. We can't know everything in our heads.
Oh, do you know?
No, I do
Oh,
not.
I thought maybe you know a lot of things from all these things. So I thought, well, maybe you know. So no, I'm going to have to study up on that. I don't know the answer to that. One of the ones that I like is iron bisglycinate, but sometimes it is still constipating to some people. So you can kind of try and see if that one is a better choice for you.
No. And I'm going to chime in. Sandy just says Mandarin is awesome. Oh, it is. It is. If anyone's ever been to like an amazing buffet in Vegas, like you were at Bellagio or something like that, this buffet, Mandarin, has lots of healthy food. They have tons of great choices, so I can easily eat within my diet. It is an excellent, excellent buffet right over in Windsor, Canada. And if you're there, you might even see me and my kids having a great time. My wife doesn't like to leave the country. I don't know why, but my kids and I love going up there. All right. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Kathy. This has been fantastic. And I want to thank everyone out there. Now, where can they learn more about you, reach out to you? What's your Facebook group? Where can the viewers go? Because last time they were like, we love Kathy. We want her back. How can they get in touch with you and all that?
I do have a website that needs some work, but it's a decent website. It's called kidneynutritioncare.com. And it actually has a link to schedule a free call if anybody wants just to have a really quick call. And then the best place to find me is on Facebook. That's where I'm most active. And my Facebook name I changed it recently, so I'm going to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. It's Kathy.Crotts, which is CROTTS .kidney nutrition. But my Facebook group, the name of the group on the actual Facebook name is you do groups/kidney nutrition care. But my group is called, I never say it. So it's like, what is the name of this group?
Well, your group's about to start growing really fast.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun in my group. I go live and answer questions. And in fact, I had a lady yesterday that I thought I was seeing virtually because she's in my Facebook group. And she came in the door and she drove from Tennessee to see me. I was so impressed. I was like, I didn't know you were coming here. So yeah, I have a lot of fun in my face. I feel like I have so many great friends in my Facebook group. So it's called Chronic Kidney Disease Stages 1 through 4 is the first part of it. So that's a good way to search it. But if you just search kidney disease and nutrition, you'll find it. And I'd love to see you there.
Awesome. All right. Well, there's another show here live next Thursday. Another dietitian, and we are going to be talking about diabetes and kidney disease next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, same time. Thank you so much, Kathy. Kathy, we haven't scheduled next month, but I'm sure Kathy's going to be back next month so we can talk about something great. Maybe it'll be fiber and answer some of your guys' questions out there.
Thank you so much. I've had a good time here.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you next month, and I'll see you next week. Bye.